we're going to transition into our next speaker. So we're going to be talking now how to complement offline marketing with your digital marketing footprint. Okay, it's important over the long haul of your sales and marketing plan to have them complement each other, and to take us down this path of offline marketing and how to leverage postcards. And some of the myths, talk about some of the myths about postcards, some of the mistakes that people make when using postcards. Are they working, not working? To walk us through this whole conversation. I fell in love personally with postcards all over again because it's such an untapped niche that people really don't know how to take advantage of, and a lot of people aren't doing it anymore. So I've personally fallen in love with that whole process again, and I'm excited to have somebody I've known for a long time now and has served countless clients, top producing agents all over the country, with helping them with use postcards for their SOI, their A list, use postcards for their database and their B list, and use postcards effectively for a geographical farm on their C list. And also a user of his and a dear friend of mine that we do a lot of business together and make good money together is Ben Lang, who's going to be also joining us on this conversation. Without further ado, Beatty Carmichael and Ben Lang. The floor is yours, Beatty.
Very good, thank you. And good to see you, Ben.
Hey, Beatty, how are you?
I'm doing terrific.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I want to make a comment, then I'll have Ben share, and then I'll kind of jump in afterwards. But what Marcus was sharing and what Isaiah was sharing about this focus on the follow-up and this live video, I want to share data from a completely different perspective that points to the same thing, because it's so important to understand the importance of that live personal touch. And what Marcus was showing is a live video. Isaiah was talking about their top agents will, within 20 seconds, do a little short 20-second video and send it out to an appointment. What this is doing is it's helping that prospect trust you, okay? Once they trust you, you'll almost always get the business. And so one of the things we have done a lot of is identifying sellers before they come on the market, much like what Marcus was showing with people filling out information wanting to get a home valuation. And what we found is what we would do is we would take all those people that had identified themselves as being interested in thinking about selling, and we let that list age for a year, and then we went back and we analyzed all of those people. And what we were looking for is how many of those who indicated an interest in selling, did they list their home? And then how many of those who listed their home did our client get the listing of? Okay, so we're looking for what drives results and what are the results. What we found is really interesting. Of those people who listed their home, which is somewhere between 1/3 and 2/3, okay? We found that you could group our clients into two categories. Those who converted 1 out of 10 to listing their home, and those that converted 9 or 10 out of 10 of listing their home. In other words, the conversion on the follow-up. And so when we saw that the average person was getting between 10 and 15%, which is actually the actual data, and the other group were getting between 90 and 100%, obviously as a marketer, I said, what's going on? So we reached out to these two groups of people, trying to find out, what are you doing? And the only difference, everything else was essentially the same. The only difference between the two is the ones who were getting 8 to 10 times more conversion, they actually knocked on the door and said hello. The same thing that the video is doing, is introducing themselves. It's people do business with someone that they trust. And the first step in trust is that they get to hear you, they get to see you, and they get to realize you're a real person. So I just thought that was really cool. And if you get nothing else out of what I'm going to share today, remember that.
That's powerful. I want to kind of put this in a one-liner of what Beatty just explained, that we have to realize and get really good at. And remember, if you're working have not met leads, they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you. right? We forget that, as silly as that sounds, right? And somehow we expect that just to be there. So our marketing has to accomplish what Beatty just said. And we have to be thinking that way every step of the way, because I don't care if the ISA set the appointment for you. They still don't know you. They still don't like you, and they still don't trust you, right? I don't care if the lead came from Ylopo. I don't care if the lead came from ZBuyer. I don't care if the lead came from Street Text. I don't care if the lead came from awesome postcards like Beatty does. It doesn't matter where the lead comes from, because they still don't know you. They still don't like you, and they still don't trust you. I don't care if the call came from Google LSA. They know you maybe a little bit because they called you and they saw an image, so it's a little bit warmer, but you still got to overcome those same things. And that's what we got to get really good at with our sales process and with our marketing. So Beatty, thank you for sharing that. This is probably the most important part of this digital marketing challenge over the next 30 days is we have to get really good at this. So go ahead.
Great. So I want to turn the floor real quickly over to Ben and hear what he has to say. I'm kind of excited to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I do is getting myself in front. When I have a listing appointment, whether it's LSA.
Can I just introduce you, Ben?
Yeah,
like
sure.
Before, so people understand who Ben is. So Ben, just to give a context, he dominates the listing side of the business. He is a full-time listing specialist, and I think, Ben, last I knew, you're the top 10%, even 1% in your market. You're pacing out to be that. Is that accurate? So
That's correct. Yeah.
And you're talking. He does a superior job on the listing side of the business. He's knocking on the door of 100, anywhere between 80 to 100 transactions, depending on how he ends off on the listing side only. Okay, not including buy side. So, Ben, I just wanted to have everyone a little bit of context before you start diving into what you're doing. Or what you're going to talk about.
Yeah. And I'd like to add one more thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but to also provide a little more context, we do a thing we call circle marketing, which is a special type of just sold postcard. And so that's our relation initially with Ben. And we also do geo farming. So just as he shares on that, you'll know, okay, how is this connecting with Beatty? So go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, one of my lead sources, I've had good luck this year with the Circle prospecting just sold postcards, which I order through Beatty. Every time I close a listing, starting to do it on the just listed side as well. So I'm very much trying to capitalize on every single listing to turn one listings into 2 or 3 more listings. Because Isaiah has talked about it several times before. We know that when a yard sign goes up in a neighborhood, it's extremely likely that another 1 or 2 yard signs will be going up in that neighborhood within the next 30 days. So it only makes sense to drive just listed and just sold postcards and spend the money for those 2 things to leverage the listing that you do have. I mean, I could walk you through kind of what I do to get myself in front of people before, like, my pre-appointment strategy. I don't know if you wanted to get into that today.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great if you talked. You spent 10 minutes on that.
Yeah.
And then the balance of the time of what you do after you get the listings, and kind of tie that into your postcard strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna do a share screen here real quick.
And Beatty, we want to have this be kind of like an open dialogue. So if there's anything that you want to add along the way, feel free. So
somebody's actually still, I don't know if it's you, Isaac. Somebody's doing a screen share still, and it won't let me.
That may be Sam. I saw her something message up. There we go.
Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh. Here we go. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, if you guys want, you can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. They're all right here. Just search for Lang Estates pretty much. This is my current lead sources. Everyone always asks every time I do one of these. So I'm just going to put them up. I've got Ylopo, Z-Buyer. After the presentation that I just saw, I'm seriously going to consider Street Text right now. That was pretty impressive. And I've been actually thinking about it for quite a while, but, so I've got, like I said, I've got the LSA ads, the farming, the just sold and just listed postcards. I've got a couple investors that are constantly sourcing business for themselves to flip. And when they cannot, when there's not a deal in it for them, they're handing it off to me. And that's been a beautiful relationship for me. I've got two investors who are just constantly buying leads and dialing, and they've got their feet on the ground. So they're getting sellers constantly. My Sphere, of course, and then I've got Z-Buyer and Ylopo. So when I get a contact, whether it's from any single one of those sources, I'm immediately, it's going in CRM. I'm adding a tag for a retargeting campaign on social, which is done through Ylopo. I'm adding the contact to HomeBot and getting them set up on HomeBot. I'm utilizing Reminder Media for a digital campaign. And I've got some things up. So if you can see this right now, I've got local events that are going out every other week. So every person in my database is getting all of the local events, and I've gotten incredible feedback on this. People just love these. Just things, especially post-COVID, it's a little tougher to find things to do. So my database is absolutely, they're loving these emails. So I'm adding them for a digital marketing campaign. I'm doing exactly what was just talked about, connecting with that person on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then I'm putting them into another system for biweekly newsletters. And then I'm scheduling out calls. Just to show you an example of the last newsletter that went out, my last client appreciation event. I was able to raise $2,000 for local dog rescues. So, you know, I just sent this out this morning, actually, just a picture. And then this takes, if they click on this, it takes them to my blog posting. So I'm driving traffic back to my website by doing this. And then I've got all the social connects down here. They're a newsletter similar to this, whether it's a market update that has videos embedded in it. They're going out every 2 weeks like clockwork, because we know consistency is the name of the game. So as soon as I get a contact, they're immediately, that's the protocol. They're getting set up for all of this immediately. Once I have an appointment set, I'm sending out this pre-list email, which I'll show you in a second, a few documents, which is basically homework for them. I text them a personalized video in the morning. Again, what we were just talking about, actually. So 10 to 20 second, hey, Bob, you know, this is Ben Lang. So excited to meet with you at your home this afternoon. Just short, simple, to the point. I want them to see my face before I show up at the door in a whole bunch of different ways. When I get to the listing appointment, I'm actually shooting a video in their front yard, and I'm promoting their house so that when I walk in the door, I'm showing them I'm already getting to work for you. You haven't signed the listing with me, but listen, I've got a huge following on social. And when I was out front, I just shot a promo video announcing your house to everyone before you even decided to work with me. So just to give you an example, this is HomeBot, by the way. So this is what my pre-list email looks like. So it's got the property address, and then it says actions required before our appointment. It's a reminder when our appointment is, and then it says to watch these 3 videos to make our time, the most of our time together. I'm giving them a reason to watch the videos and review the information by telling them it's going to save us 45 minutes at our appointment. And so what I'm doing, there's 3 links here. I'm taking them into, basically, this is my credibility packet, which a lot of people have already seen, but there's a video, they can download it. And then there's some text for them to review as well. There's my marketing plan. There's a video for them to watch. They can also download my marketing plan. And then there's information about pricing your home. They can download it. Again, there is a video. The reason why I'm doing this is because I am very serious about when I walk into their house, I don't want it to be about me at all. I want to drive the conversation with questions and empathy and really get to know their goals and try and figure out how or their problems or issues or dilemmas. And then I'm trying to figure out how I can solve their problem or how I can get them to reach their goals. That's why before the appointment, there's all about me. There's all about my marketing, because I'm not going to sit there and break rapport by getting into a presentation on an iPad with somebody. And I'm not saying that's the right way or the wrong way to do things. For me, sitting down and presenting to someone, it doesn't work. It like I said, it's the fastest way to break rapport, in my opinion. So I'm really, again, they're seeing my face over and over and over again. In that pre-list email, I'm giving them all of my recent actives and sold listings, which is just an MLS link. It's got a map view, couple actives, pendings, and then a long list of recently solds. They can see my Twilight photography. They can see my price points that I'm working.
Hey, Ben, your slides are not moving.
Oh, are you not seeing, you're not seeing the things that I'm showing you on the actual.
Last one was good conversation turned into listing appointment 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, let me go back for a second.
Ben, what may be going on is when you share your screen, you can either share a specific window or the entire desktop.
Yeah.
We're still on the window of you're sharing your PowerPoint as opposed to your desktop.
Okay. Try this. So that wasn't making any sense. Okay, let's go back here. So as far as the local event, can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the local event email that I was referring to earlier. So this is going out to the entire database every other week. It's got all local events, Detroit and Metro Detroit, Workout in the Park, Rhythm on the Riverfront, the Whiskey Festival. This is what I was saying. I'm getting a tremendous response from this particular email. As far as the newsletter that's going out every 2 weeks, it looks something like this. So again, at my last client appreciation event, we were able to raise $2,000 for a local dog rescue. So we've just got, it's just updates about my business, or it's updates about the market, the real estate and the mortgage industry. Earlier, I had referred to setting people up in HomeBot. This is HomeBot. So my pre-listing email, and I do apologize that you weren't able to see this before. I thought you were seeing everything that I was going over. But so before I meet with somebody, I'm sending them the 20-second video via text. They're also getting this email from me. It's the property address and its actions required before our appointment. I'm telling them to watch 3 videos to make the most of our time together. By watching these videos and reviewing this information, it's going to save us 45 minutes at our appointment. That's my way of getting them to actually look at things. These 3 links go here. So you've got a video. This is why choose me. They can download the PDF. They've got my marketing plan. They can download the marketing plan. Pricing your home. There's the presentation video. They can also download the presentation. I'm telling them to check out my recent active and recent sold listings. That looks like this, so they can see the areas that I'm working and see that I work a very large area. They can also see the twilight photography. They can see the price points that I'm working, which is a pretty wide range. Active listings. And then I'm also giving them social proof here to my Google reviews, which takes them directly here. I'm giving them my average days on market, my average list to sale price, telling them I'm spending money on Google pay-per-click and paid Facebook and Instagram ads with the website. And then I've got a quick 1-minute video that gets into exactly the top 10 reasons how I get sellers top dollar for their home. So there's 4 videos within this email. But I'm setting the stage for our appointment with this email. I apologize you couldn't see it before, but when I walk through the door, I really want to focus on them and their goals, their dilemma. How do I solve their dilemma? Rather than, the why choose me. It's how many properties I've sold and my stats. And to me, I just don't think it's appropriate when I'm at someone's house trying to help them to be peppering them with all of my wins. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's my personal belief. Beatty, would you agree with that, or what's your thought on that?
Absolutely. I love, one of the things we find, and I'll show this in just a moment, is people want to know why they should choose you. I love your message there, why choose me. Most agents don't know how to articulate why to choose them. You were showing your days on market, you were showing your list to sales ratio, you're talking about that you actually spend money to promote. You're sharing things that they don't know and that no one else is talking about. So showing off your sales, they see it enough. They got to see your sales, but to keep promoting only on sales is not enough. So, yeah. Out of curiosity, I want to ask, so I know one of the other things that you had on your slide, and maybe you're going to get to it, but was the just generating listings through the Just Sold Our Circle marketing. Because you and I we really haven't spoken. So this is now me interviewing my client a little bit to understand, right? Give me some feedback on what you're seeing from those. How many mailings are you doing? How many listings are you getting per mailing, or how many mailings to get a listing? Can you kind of quantify what that means?
Absolutely. So every time I sell a listing, I'm spending $100 to mail to the 75 of the closest houses, not apartments, but houses. I've probably sent out, I don't know, 10 to 15 because I recently started doing it. I've gotten 2 listings from it. So if it was 15, that's a $1,500 investment. One of them was a 440 where he literally called me and he said, "Hey, got your postcards. So I saw you just sold my neighbor's house and you got, 110% of the list price in 2 days." He's like, when can you come list my house? And that was the exact question. And when I walked through the door, it was just pretty much where I signed. You did it for my neighbors, so obviously you can do it for me. So for me, I love, so that was one at 440. So what, a $13,000 commission. And then there was another one at 275 where it was basically the same thing. I got your postcard. I saw you sold my neighbor's house. Saw the sold sign went up within a couple days after the for sale sign went up, and it was a slam dunk. So that was about $8,000 commission. So 13 and 8, $21,000 on about $1,500 spent.
Wow, that's more than a 10 to 1 in postcard marketing. That's an amazing return on investment.
That's a pretty good ROI.
It really is. Hey, I'd like to challenge you on one thing, okay? So
Yeah.
what drives, and I will show this to you, we may talk about this when I pull my slides up, but what drives the results is they see your name, they see the sign, and you're there at the moment that everything's kind of top of mind. I'd like to challenge you to do a test. You've got enough sales going on. You're doing 75 homes per mailing. Do a split test. Every other sale you do 150 home mailing instead of 75, and see what that double volume does around getting listings around those homes. And unless you've already tested something like that, have you?
I haven't tested, but what I was thinking about doing instead of that was hitting them with just listed and then the just sold, so that the same 75 are getting 2 touches via mail, to see if that improved the results or conversion more.
Okay. So yeah, anytime we do anything in marketing, we always want to test. In fact, can I show my screen? I want to show some guys some tests we have done. All right. So this is really cool. Let me pull this up real quick. If I can get all my keystrokes hitting properly. Okay, can y'all see this now? Okay, perfect. All right, great. So what's interesting, I'll just skip over this stuff. So we did a number of split marketing tests, and if you're not testing it, you're not marketing, okay? You're just spending. So the key is to understand what works best. And some of the things that I'll just go through real high level, especially for those of you who do your own marketing. A positive offer, which is phrasing something in the positive, how to get 18% more money for your home versus 7 most shocking and expensive mistake homeowners make when selling their home. When you test a positive offer, homeowners 8 times more will respond to a positive offer than a negative offer. The other thing we looked at, this isn't much of an issue today, but we tested from a good-looking card to an ugly card, 2.5 times increase. Here's something real important. Most people don't understand this, but this is where I was sharing with you, Ben, is, test. Actually, what I would do is before you test, or maybe you can try this, kind of do 2 tests simultaneously. But when you test, double the volume. Now, you probably won't get double the results, but my guess is you'll get at least 150 to 175% of results, which at a 10 to 1 that you're making right now, it's still money in the bank that you'll get. But one of the things that we tested, this happens a lot. It's what's called reverse font versus regular font. Reverse font is typically, you'll see it over a photograph, over a dark background, and you put white print on top of a dark background. Regular font is where you put black print on top of a lighter color background. And since we're engaging, I don't know if you've seen this presentation before, but would you like to take a guess which font outperforms the other?
Reverse font.
Reverse font. And by how much?
I'd say at least double.
At least double.
Seems way more appealing to me, or more like, I don't know. Am I going to be wrong?
It seems more appealing. And let's say that out of reverse font, you pick up 1 listing, okay? The study is regular font is 8.5 times more responses. So if you're 1 listing, I would have gotten 8.5 listings if all I did was change the font.
Really?
And here's what's happening. This is real important. Most people don't think about this. We have to market in the way people are accustomed to seeing things. And most of us, especially if you're of my age group, you're accustomed to seeing things like a magazine. Let's see if you can see. You can't. Hold on one moment. Let me take this off. I want to show this to you. I want to change my virtual background so you can see this, because I think this is important to show you. Okay. So most of us are accustomed to seeing magazines, newsprint, everything that is a white background with black print. So when we then go to our screen and we see, or even if it's a postcard and we see reverse font, our brain just doesn't know how to register it. We see it, we read it, but it's hard. And this is one of the biggest issues, biggest fallacies I see most people do in marketing. They just never test it. They assume. Let me show you a couple other things. Is this cool so far?
Yeah.
Long headline versus short headline. Are you interested in selling your home versus if you're thinking about selling your home, I may get it sold immediately because of the buyers I work with? Which one do you think outperforms one versus the other?
Short headline.
Short headline. That's what everyone says. Long headline. Now, by the way, this is a powerful headline for identifying sellers. That's all we focus on, so sellers. Because the purpose of the headline is to interrupt someone, to catch their attention, but not just interrupt them, but to interrupt the right person. So in this case, it's interrupting someone thinking about selling. So this is a really good headline to begin with. When we added more content to it, more context, it increased the lift of results, because what it does is it tells more of a complete story. People will first read the headline and then determine if they're going to read anything else. So the most important part of any marketing that you do is the headline.
Yeah.
Because
can I make a comment to that?
Yeah, please.
So this is where it's such a fine balance in worrying about how it looks and the actual sales copy. Because I know there's some people thinking in their head, they probably said the other one because it seems simpler, to the point, clean. It looks kind of clean, where the other one looks a little bit crowded, but it actually tells a better story and gives a better message. And I've A/B tested the crap out of this too, because I used to do short headlines, and for an introductory, like Beatty was saying, that's okay. But if these ones get such better responses. If you look at all my materials, that when I'm inviting you to challenges, you're never going to see a short headline on mine. You're going to see something that tells a little bit more of a story, and is exactly what that is clear on a benefit, is clear on how it's going to benefit them if they engage with the headline.
I also like creativity in those headlines, right? It should be man bites dog, right? So if you see a headline that's like, oh, this guy got bit by a dog yesterday, nobody cares, right? But if it's man gets bit by a dog and bites the dog back, right? Now that's interesting, right? Or how about one of my favorites on the postcards? So on just listed postcards, I used to always send out, you'll never guess what your neighbors, the Johnsons, did last night, right? I want to make it seedy. I want to make it sound like, oh my gosh, there's something crazy. What am I going to read? This is going to be really weird. But you'd be surprised the response you get when you make it interesting and fun, right? It's got to be interesting.
That's really cool, Beatty. I'm glad you're hitting on this topic.
So the last test that we did, this is one of those that was unexpected. And so we tested marketing the same content to the South and the Eastern states versus the Western states. Ben, what's your guess? Which one outperforms?
Eastern.
And would you want to guess maybe what percentage increase?
I don't know.
I don't know. 300.
300. All right. So our test is somewhere around 800% or more. So this is especially important for those of you on the western side of the U.S. Here's what happened. The bottom line is it's what we call a trusting community. If you recall what happened in the formation of the country, Everyone came in on the eastern side. They built community. They lived in neighborhoods, and they trusted people because they're always around them, and they were interdependent on everyone. As the country developed and everyone moved west, it was the pioneers. They had to be independent. They had to depend only on themselves. And so there's still a prevailing attitude that I don't trust anyone, okay? And we started to see this in our marketing very clear. And so this is where, when Marcus was talking about the videos, the reason people respond is because they trust you. And we started to identify and analyze what creates trust, because without trust, they don't do business with you. And this is all about follow-up. It's all about your top of your funnel. This permeates the entire process. So let me walk you through real quickly what we've learned. You can divide trust into 3 sections. They trust that you're selling homes. That's real important. So always show off a sale. I'm going to focus more effort here that they trust your expertise. This is what Ben was showing when he said, my average days on market is this. My list to sales price ratio is this. I actually spend money in Google pay-per-click and Facebook ads to drive traffic into my listings. He's starting to tell them the expertise of what he does and how it's quantified. And then the third part of trust is, this is what Marcus was talking in part, and what I shared initially, is that when they meet you in person, then everything kind of gels, okay? Mm-hmm. So let me show you real quickly this middle part. This is trusting your expertise. In marketing, there's a concept known as outside perception versus inside reality. And as long as the outside perception of those homeowners is what they typically think, all agents are the same. Think about this. Why should I choose Bill over Ben, over Isaiah, or over Marcus? I don't know. I see their signs all over the place. I'll just choose. I get a Just Sold postcard from, see if you can see it. I get a Just Sold postcard from Ben. At the moment, I'm thinking about selling, so I'll just call him, okay? That may be the only reason they call it, because they just got a postcard. But if you really want to dominate, whether it's your personal sphere, whether it's a geo farm or any other type of grouping, you have to differentiate yourself. Because here's what happens. If they think that all agents are the same, then it doesn't matter who they choose to sell their home. But when you start to look at what makes an agent special and the results, then it actually does make a difference. So imagine for a moment that all those homeowners that you're wanting to market to, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in that GeoFarm neighborhood, or even your own personal client list, if they all understood your skill and expertise and experience to the same degree that you understand it about yourself, would they realistically choose anyone else besides you? And the answer is no, because that's your inside reality. If I were selling my home and Ben were in my area, I would choose Ben hands down, because I know what he does. I don't know what Hannah does. I don't know what these other people do, but I know Ben. And that's where this trust level comes in. So when you boil it all down, it comes to that. So let me show you how you can start to generate trust in just a very simple process. I forgot about these slides. Let me show you how effective this is. One of our clients we started working with had been farming a farm for 12 months, no results. We started implementing this approach. Within 7 months, he'd already closed 8 sales. And by the 8th month, he was getting 2 new listings every single week. And half of them were calling him up and saying, okay, this was not in the seller's market time frame, you can imagine, but half of them were saying, hey, Josh, my home is on the market. It's not selling. As soon as my contract expires, will you come sell it? They never met the guy, but because of the marketing and educating what he did, they actually believed that he was better than anyone else. And so let me show you how this works. So we're talking about the Just Sold postcards that Ben is sending out. We actually, one of the reasons I wanted you to test Ben to do 150 instead of 75, we actually guarantee that if you do 10 mailings at 150, you'll get at least 2 listings, or we'll give 100% of your money back. Okay, that's for your first 10 mailings. So it may not apply to you since you've already done 10 with us, but it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game with an articulation of value. So let me show you what happens with most agents. Most agents send out a Just Sold postcard like this. Okay. And this is a pretty card, but watch what happens. I'm just going to add a few words, and I want you to ask yourself which of these two postcards is more persuasive in choosing Bill or not. You get this postcard, just sold, or you get this postcard and he says, I did it again. Another one sold at the top of the market price. Just a few words. Can you see the impact it makes? Just a few words, it drives the value of Bill, start to move him up and separate him from other people. And so this whole idea of separating yourself from someone else, this whole idea of sharing the expertise, why to choose you, doesn't have to be very complex, okay? It can be as simple as saying, I did it again at the top of the market price. Now, let me also share something a secret about this messaging. I don't care if this home had been on the market 5 times longer than the average, and you had to drop that price 3 different times to get it sold, because the statement is still true. Another one sold at the top of the market price. Whatever it sold for was the top price in that market for that home in that condition. And so you take these homes that you think is a burner home, it just was a bad sale. It's always another one sold at the top of the market price, and the perception is everything, okay? So then watch what happens. Now I can change this message a little bit more and watch the impact that it makes. This home had been on the market 180 days with another agent without selling. I listed it at the same price and sold it in only 5 days for full price. Wow. Okay, so now, and this is the equivalent of a headline. Okay, I'm going to show you how this becomes a headline. This is a lot more words than just sold, but it conveys a more powerful message which interrupts someone even more, and it works. Now, the reason I can do it on this postcard without putting it up here in the technically the headline section is when they get this postcard, because it's right in the middle of the photo, their eyes go to the photo and immediately their eye goes right here. Okay, so I can put anything here and this is going to get front and center attention. So now what's happening with that headline is I'm actually articulating more of the value that I brought to the table. More of, and intrinsic in this value is there's expertise behind the scenes, okay? But watch what happens. I'm going to take this now another step. I'm actually going to change the design of the postcard and I'm going to convert this into a headline. After 180 days with another agent without selling, Bill Smithson sold this home in 5 days for full price. Here's how. So now they get this postcard. We minimize the photo, but the photo is still there. But now what really stands out at the very first is the headline. And this headline is designed to interrupt them, grab attention of the seller, the one thinking about selling, and drive them into the content. Notice as well, everything except for everything is in regular print. I want them to see and read very easily. So I've got a very clean background here. All of this is white. Everything is in black. Notice that the key things I've bolded so that someone can just kind of glance through it if they want to. But watch what happens. I want to show you the psychology here. The purpose of the headline is to get them to read the next sentence. The purpose of the next sentence is to get them to read the next sentence. And the purpose of that sentence is to get them to start reading everything else. Statistically, if I can get them interested in the headline to read the next sentence, and I do a good job on the next couple of sentences, at least 2/3 of the people that start the headline will read the entire thing. Okay, so here's what we're doing on this headline. After 180 days with another agent without selling, Bill Smithson, and then we're going to now highlight, sold this home in 5 days for full price. So if all they read is they see this stands out. But if they're thinking about selling, they're going to come back and read the whole thing. And now here's how ... tells the mind, don't stop here, continue. So then they start to continue. And here's what we did. So now what we're doing on this is we're showing more content that helps people understand why. By the way, Ben, this is something we can do with you because I know we do custom cards already. We can pull one custom card. Did we already do that?
I was just going to ask if I could do this type of just sold.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So your circle marketing just sold is we can set it to be any card. And so a lot of our custom clients, they do this because now it adds more reason why they should choose you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I like this.
So let me show you.
What are the numbers behind that? So Beatty, do you know the actual statistical analysis of how that performs versus the other postcard?
I don't. Unfortunately, we can best measure statistics when we're looking at stuff that do not require our client to report back. For example, if I'm trying to get it with Ben and say, "Hey Ben, how did these cards work?" Ben's so busy he never calls me back. If it's tracking how many people click through, I can do that without Ben's interaction, and then I can look up the addresses. So that's how I'm able to get good data on our split test, but very only anecdotal data on this type of stuff.
Well, I would say, Beatty, one of the things you mentioned was per 10 set that you go out, you're pretty confident they're going to get 2 listings, or else we wouldn't have that guarantee. So you can kind of gauge what to expect, at least, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we are confident enough in doing this long enough that, I mean, this is and I don't want to be pushing a guarantee, but I just it's a 100% of your money back out of those 10 mailings.
Right.
If you don't get at least 2 listings. I mean, it's one of those things that it's gonna work because the numbers are with us. Everything we're doing, we know we've done it for years. We know what works. So while I can't give Michael a statistical number, I can say that this process generates great results.
And one of the things if I could have maybe like 3 to 5 minutes towards the end here before we hit 2 o'clock, Beatty. So we're at 1:52 Eastern Standard Time, and I just want to add a couple comments, but I don't want to ruin your flow here either.
Okay. Yeah. So my flow is probably just more education.
Okay.
Let me just finish this, and then this will be 30 seconds.
Okay.
So by putting the "here's how ... what that does is that drives the person to read the next sentence. Bill did it again. He sold this home at the top market price. How? ... Follows them into this one. So what we're doing is we're building interest. We're interrupting. We're engaging. He follows a proven 4-step process that consistently works. ... And then we educate. It's the formula: you interrupt, engage, educate, and then you offer. So go ahead, Isaiah.
Awesome. Let's go into a little bit of a Q&A. I want to give an opportunity for 3 to 5 minutes here for either Beatty or Ben on any Q&A you have along this topic. So feel free to drop your questions and start asking. Get all your questions asked while we're here, because this is something that I think a lot of us can work on, is just doing a better job leveraging our listings, and constantly finding ways to take, something that was, take this asset that we have, right, and maximize the amount of relationships that we can create, from this asset. And that's what I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about. I'm going to give you a checklist of action steps maybe that you can take, particularly if you are a Ren client. You should be taking these action steps, and you have your marketing coordinator to help you with this process. So please, if you're a Ren client, take detailed notes here. But one of the things that we've identified is obviously, anybody can do a just listed, just sold postcard campaign. And the first and foremost, if you don't think messaging matters, and you're taking this conversation for granted that Beatty's talking about, and you're like, oh, well, every postcard's the same. I promise you, messaging matters. Sales copy matters in a huge way. And I've experienced that, and I can tell you, no matter what type of marketing, it matters. Michael, I don't know if Michael's still there, but when we're inviting people to these events, okay, I'm looking at our metrics. I can make a tweak to our sales copy. Michael and I can make a tweak to our sales copy on our event Viten page, and it can change the conversion by 10-15% by just changing the headline. Okay, so the stuff that Beatty's talking about here, when it's talking about understanding the psychology and the pain points and what engages homeowners, it's very, very important to consider. Because it makes a giant difference. So that's the first point that I want to make sure we don't take for granted sales copy, because sales copy is huge. It's very, very important. The next thing is to make sure that you have a system or a process. This is something that you'll hear Michael talk a lot about, right? We'll talk a lot about this, is that you'll get to a point in your business where it becomes execution. Meaning, like, we gain the product knowledge, we gain industry knowledge, we get great ideas, and then usually it comes down to actually executing on those ideas. We agree, like, that becomes a challenge in our industry a lot, or any business. It's like how well we end up executing once we've learned the idea. So the action step here today is create a system for yourself. If you don't already have one, a checklist of what you're committed to doing to not only market that listing to give the client a great experience, but a checklist that you're going to do with your team to make sure that you market that listing to generate more listings the same way every single time. Okay. And to constantly analyze that process and how you can improve it, right, and adjust it, because that's there's a huge ROI sitting here. There's a multiplier effect that we take for granted, to be honest, to be upfront about it. We don't want to take it for granted, and just sold postcard is one of those things. Okay, so at the very least, if you are with Ren, okay, or something for you guys to think about, even if you're not. You should have a admin or a marketing coordinator, somebody that can help you with this eventually. If you don't have any of that, you're going to just have to make time to do it on your own. But that listing comes in, okay? A couple key things you need to do. And Ben, if I'm missing anything here with this checklist, let me know.
I will say real quick, as far as ordering just sold, just listed with Beatty, it literally takes about a minute and a half.
That's awesome.
He takes care of everything else. So really, lack of time is not a good excuse for that one.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And so you can go to renpostcards.com and check us out there. Beatty is really awesome to work with. But so you got your postcards, okay? You should also be pulling geographical data, and making sure that ends up in your database. So the same leads that you're sending postcards to need to end up in your database, right? And then what you have to do is come up with a game plan to actually prospect and market and build trust with your database as many ways as you possibly can, right? And whether that's through you start off with a postcard, see who responds. Another way to do it is a Facebook retargeting ad, which a custom audience, which Marcus kind of touched on a little bit in the last meeting, right? Obviously, doing circle prospecting is an option, right? Or having an ISA do circle prospecting for you around those is an option. Taking some time in a neighborhood to go door knocking, right? To complement your postcard in areas that you really want to penetrate, right, is an option. Doing a direct to voicemail, right? And letting people know that there's a listing that just went live or a listing that just sold and you wanted to reach out to them personally because there's a lot of buyers that are still looking for a home in the area. So for example, you can sit there, call them all one-on-one, or you can do a direct to voicemail and let them know that, do a quick survey call. But the point is think of all the ways that that are within your capacity to farm that neighborhood every time you get a listing, and don't put anything on that list that you're not committed to doing. And maybe you can build on that list, but create a system to have your digital marketing and through your database marketing and your offline marketing to get that to come together for your farming activities. Okay. And if you get really good with that system, that's when you start dominating markets. That's when you start gaining market share. And if you do this consistently over the course of 6, 9, 12 months, then it gets even more fun. It creates that snowball effect. The number one problem we see here is consistency, right? So action step is, what is your checklist to not only market the listing, but to farm around the listing? What is your checklist that no matter what, moving forward, you're going to do, that you'll never compromise ever when you go to farm around a listing? Okay. So that's kind of like the points I would like to make. If you are with Ren, as a final point here, if you're a Ren client, take advantage of the artificial intelligence that we give you to identify who is likely to be selling in those areas, and then send the postcards to those people. Okay. Like this is a little hot topic for me, Beatty, because we have a lot of people that have access to this tech, and sometimes I find out they're sending postcards, right, to people and not matching up the AI.
Yeah.
And it takes the conversion to a whole nother planet when you match those two up over time, and then you follow it up by the other forms of marketing that your marketing coordinator will do for you. Okay.
Let me share on that. Going back to what Marcus was doing with Street Text.
Mm-hmm.
If you're driving people to a home valuation site,
mm-hmm.
and you're getting at least their home address,
yep.
you ought to be putting that on a drip email campaign, even a just sold postcard every time you sell, because those people will be going on the market. It's a targeted list.
Want to know something really cool? Like, and I'm speaking to the Ren audience right now. If you simply just have those leads from Beatty's postcards, from any lead generation source like Street Text, flow into our system, they automatically get 10 days of follow-up that then go into a seller drip campaign with seller videos, and it happens automatically. I'm glad you brought that up, because we have that set up there for that reason.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So it's all about the multiple touches, right? And that's what helps. And now, if you log in, or your teammate or somebody's logging in and seeing who's interacting with the emails, who's interacting with the follow-up from these leads that were created, and you follow up with them personal, with that personal touch that we were talking about before, that's when your conversion goes to the next level. Right? So does it take a little bit of work to think through and set up, everybody? Yes. Right? Is it something that we have to manage and monitor and finally innovate? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes, it is worth it. This is how you dominate a market space, is what Beatty is talking about here. Okay. So anything else, Beatty or Ben, you want to add here before we transition?
I don't. This is
No.
Start mailing postcards. Oh,
yeah.
One interesting thing. Let me see if I got this on the slide.
Yeah.
I want to show you one. If you look at impression, I call these impression secrets. A display ad will have about a 3-second impression or less. An email, typically about 25 seconds or less. But that postcard, they'll hold on to. They'll keep it. And so your impression impact just stays a lot longer. So
that's awesome.
All
It's
right.
a really, really important point. So check it out. If you go to runpostcards.com, watch how easy it is to put an order in. It takes minutes. And Beatty, thank you. Let's give Beatty and Ben a huge thank you through the chat. We greatly appreciate your time. And I want to actually talk and speak to that. These events, why we're able to, and we'll do some Q&A here, why we're able to even have this event in the first place and not charge for it is because Beatty actually helped us market this event. Ben volunteered his time. I want to give a shout out to all the people really quick. Big shout out to Beatty for helping us. Shout out to Z-Buyer. Shout out to Business Video School. I want to give a shout out to Box Brownie, Viral Marketing, and Chime, and then also Casey O'Toole with his LinkedIn service. If it wasn't for these people that helped us with this, we couldn't offer this for free to you guys. So just keep those people in mind. If you're looking to do business, keep all these vendors in mind. These are all very quality people to work with. And thanks again, Beatty, for your help here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll be blessed.
Awesome. All right. So Tug, you had a question? Did you have a question for Beatty, or was it for us before Beatty hops off here? You're on mute.
Our area doesn't have as high a price point as probably a lot of other places, and Judy and I just took a almost $1 million listing. Which is real high for our area. It's kind of in a rural setting. In other words, it's on more than 6 acres. There are other luxury homes in the area, but I'd love to use the postcards, but I don't think there's 75 properties around that I could send it to of comparable kind.
Yeah, so a friend of mine targets homes on property. He calls it 1 acre plus. Maybe yours is 5 acre plus, and it may not be within that community, but they all have you're now going from a community to a niche. And in the niche, it may be $1 million homes on 5 acre plus or 5 acre plus homes. You would just get a list of, I'm sorry?
You said you're saying market to the niche?
Right, just market to the niche of like homes, because they're all going to have similar needs and desires. And when they see that you're selling those homes like they have, then you'll find 75 of those easy. You just have to widen your net, but target it as a niche.
And Tug, through the Run Geo app, you can find that. You can use that to find that data and pull those names and leads.
Okay, one more thing for Amy to have to work on for me.
Yeah. That's what we're here for. Cool. All right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Beatty. We really appreciate your time today. All right.
No problem.
Okay.
Thanks. All right. Let's come up with action steps here. Okay. So what is your one takeaway, true to form, based on what Michael recommended in the beginning? What is your one takeaway from today? Right. So you should have 4 big takeaways three takeaways leading up today. What's your one additional takeaway with everything that we're talking about? And if you could drop that in the chat, that would be awesome. While you guys are thinking through what your one takeaway is, I want to thank everybody who submitted your videos to Sam. Tomorrow, we're going to have some fun and spend some time going through some of those videos, and also going through a video. I'm going to probably my goal is by the end of the challenge on Friday to actually send everybody a copy of the video that I did using the Business Video School recipe, so you guys can see an example and have a chance to take a look at that. And we're going to have a really fun dialogue around that tomorrow. We also have a very special. We have another special guest coming tomorrow, Casey O'Toole. He's going to talk about leveraging LinkedIn, and we're going to be talking about a concept I think is very important in our industry to help us manage this whole thing, right? And so a lot of times when we get all this information, it's hard to manage it. And so that's what we're going to be wrapping up with tomorrow to make sure we can take some action steps, okay? So with that, is there any questions before we leave today? Anybody have any questions before we leave today? It's two. Oh, she's okay. So we're way out. We're that far over. Okay, it's good to know.